Good evening, afternoon, or morning, whenever, wherever it is for you. It is 6:54 p.m. or 18 hours 54 minutes. I'm in the Eastern time zone. All bets trades of the like within each his own risk reward on Bitcoin daily chart. Just grinding its way, having nice gains towards the upside. Still in that sideways range, still not unable to break out or break down on any type of long-term time frames, even really intermediate for the most part, other than this might be intermediate in some people's view, and it's bullish on this case. Earlier, it was resisting this Fibonacci 3700 level. Then it got above it, and then it supported it for a while. Then it resisted it. It had this red candle down, but then it got above it, didn't support it, broke above it, had this nice green up move. And since then, from 1 hour on this morning, so since 1 a.m., up until 1500 hours or 3 p.m., it was just grinding, supporting the 18 highs. Now, since that point, we've had 3 periods just grinding well above it. So it's just like it was before. Enough for the 18 averages starting to rise a little bit higher. 4-hour term time frame, we can see that this is more of a sideways move, breaking out, and now into this upper area of resistance, and we're going to have a more higher upper area at the 41. And I know there's a lot of lines here, but daily chart, and I can fix this with a different exchange. It's in that 18 average, but it's at the upper end of it. But that's what resistance is, and support is at the lower end. Still got to get above here in the attempt in reverting the trend, because it's already established resistance. It's already came back to the band. Obviously, it's been there for over a week, or about a week now. But the probability odds, if it's able to now soon, which is today, tomorrow, anytime in the near term, get above here, especially if you can see it hold and stay above around 39 and a third for more than 4 to 6 hours, then I'd really be liking the prospects of it getting above this high and having a decent leg higher. Any clear break above 4220, which to me is around 4400, that's what I would state is okay, we're in bull market territory, or at least another way of putting it, I would expect a leg higher. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's multiple legs or even a massive leg of good volatility towards the upside. And the 2 levels I'll be looking for on the break is about around 5,000, because it usually pierces extra. So high 49s would be an area of resistance. I think the next term, more of an intermediate shorter term level on the break. And the more bigger long-term one is the 6,300 and change mark. Let's take a look next at the coin market cap of cryptos, which had a 98 billion level, well piercing above, but pretty much a hit amongst these lows. Some things to notice. Look at the line movements from pretty much the start of this decline, even in here. How there actually has been movement up and down, where this entire sideways range totally lacked that with its very minute volatility. So therefore, we have resistance here. We have resistance recently hit with this higher low. We can start the left shoulder here, I guess. Left shoulder, a little wide, long head, and even a much wider right shoulder. But if this is able to get above this level of resistance in here, then there would be definite upside potential to go up to well, this previous key level as well. And because this rally that we've seen is a good one, and it's been doing what it's supposed to do in reversal, when it does really, really good, it makes an extremely outstanding effort, and it fails. And we would see failures first on a break of this level of support, And then most certainly if 61.8% Fibonacci, somewhere in this ballpark area here. If it fails, then oftentimes on a failed breakout like this is when you are looking for another leg lower. With all of these lower lows that have come within this market, you would expect a decent one from the combination of these last two, thus probably at 90 or lower, maybe 85, 87-ish area. But when it comes down to it, oftentimes these Fibonacci levels have worked well in the past. So now it's time to wait, see, and be the decision maker on if it will again with this level hit, nicely piercing above 98. Basically, when it comes down to it, pretty much an exact hit, given the small differential and how this is long-term Fibonacci analysis. That you see it breaking out above this, then oh well, I guess it was no surprise because I've seen it happen many times. Comes down to a 38.2% down level, then it rallies, all that type of stuff. And for me, I'll just wait and see. Next up, let's talk about waves. I haven't really talked about this in a long time. I gotta say, at some point, maybe a year or many months ago. But it had a really kick-ass move. A 5x going from about the 24 handle to the 120. And within such, from the first leg higher, makes it to this high, and then comes back down to this correction. Miniature sideways correction here, not much of one, but an outstanding double leg or within the correction, just a huge move. Then you have an okay correction, decent size rally, but from that point grinding in towards here, small green, giving it back quickly. There's a lot of this empty space. And when I see markets up like this, unless somebody can tell me otherwise a good reason to be a buyer, I most certainly will never be such a case. I want to see it correct back. It's went from almost 120 down to 80. That's given a third, and that's not much. All it's done is went to the daily time frame, 18 average of lows with all of this empty space. When I view it on the weekly, I have seen that well, the 18 average is still well above this. And when I talk about when markets make these big moves from a bear market condition, which all of these pretty much are in the recent time frame or the current time frame, well, here you have this resistance hit. So now I want to hold, stay above where it came from. Higher it goes up, then the higher I could like to see it hold. So this is a good rally higher, so one could make a statement, well, maybe I'd like to see it go a little bit higher, but either still, I don't want to see it hold 80. I mean, obviously it's nice to see that, but I have to give it a lower number. Oftentimes it's going to correct there anyway. And within the way these markets move, markets go up, markets go down. And they do so really wildly within this hemisphere. Here you have opportunities where I would consider this selling spots, buybacks. And then last summer, or spring and summer of 2017, the huge rally where pretty much all you're doing is selling, and at least with the amount of corrections that would be happening on the shorter term, a trader like myself would get about 20 sell orders, maybe 23, and then maybe 1 or 2 buy orders from point low to point high. But then you would be buying down here, selling in here, buying on these moves, selling up here, buying that back, maybe selling up here, maybe buying here, definitely buying down here, and then definitely selling up here. So in spots like this, and I'm not playing this, but if I had a sell order last, say at this 90 number, maybe I'm looking to sell again here, or buy down here. And if I'm looking to enter into positions, it's very rare that this is where I'm going to start off with. If I'm going to put an order in this, it's probably going to be a buy order. And if I were to put one in, I would do somewhere a little exact towards maybe a little south of the mathematical equation of 120 or 1200 divided by 234.1 to the root of 0.382 multiply 234.1 again, and basically that's a 61.8% Fibonacci level. I'd be looking to get in hopefully around 45 to 50 on a safe level, and to get that exact number, 43.71, so 43.50, 43.20, safe 45 or 44. And what this thing does from here is anybody's guess, but if I was to be given a 50-50 decision on whether the next move is going to be a price down to say 45,000 or the exact equivalency to the upside, which would be, well, 45 into 80, that's a gain of about like 80-ish or so percent, so would say about 140 or so around here. Actually, I don't know what would be favored, to be honest with you. I really don't. But I just realized that as it's doing this short-term work in here, given that I've given a number lower than this here, even if I see a bearish setup from this, and I do, short-term, I'm looking for this to go to somewhere around in here as its next leg lower at around 56. So it technically could do this and then make that high, thus the higher number would be the winning play. And then it could even not find support here or have a quick failed breakdown and have that move. So no, I don't know what the favorite would be amongst the situation of the two, because within it, if this thing has a little bit of sideways correction, it took a lot of energy to have 4 periods to go from point low to point high. And every time it does all of this stuff we've been seeing just going sideways in here, it gains some energy back, which is what happened in here. The correction was successful. It went higher, had a small breather here, went higher. Now it's having a much deeper breather. Will it even have a larger one? And that's, again, I don't know, but I'm just going to end it at that, because for me, I think the best way of playing it is always, if you're looking to see how markets move, what's likely and unlikely. And one thing I look at it as in buying in here, to me, is a fool's game, I think, 72. Because if it happens to go here, I think there's a good chance it's going to go down to here. And same thing on upside levels, because when you know that you have a key level of resistance, and on the 4-hour term, say, if you end up breaking into here, nicely above, then there's a good chance that you're going to have further gains on top of it, especially if it's up a little higher, because you have this declining mode. And if it's going to get above it, then oftentimes it's going to make a play, at least to this previous high, especially because what's following this is the big gain that it's had, and this descending triangle, a correctionary neutral mode. And usually these things resolve themselves, I don't know if this is true or not for this one, in the path of least resistance, but I think, or which is higher, but I think a better way of putting that in is because this is an uptrend. If you see signals like it's ending this to the upside, mainly breaking above this 18 and doing what it needs to there, then you know the probabilities of a good leg up is higher, because of, as I've been saying, it's had its energy. Now it's able to sprint at good speeds or buy at big levels, as the case is in here. And let's finalize this video with an update on Komodo, which had this level of resistance established in here. Even hit some lower parts there. Beautiful 18 correction, which was then followed with a small rally, and then this correction through time to the 18, leaving it. And then getting above all of this level of resistance, getting above this level of resistance, and establishing one near around 26. has since had a down day to this point, or down day here, and is within the 18, so it's having a correctionary move. This 20 handle represents about a 38.2% correction, and it's where it came from in here. 61.8% would be down towards 17 in this previous area in here. But next, I'm going to be looking more towards this level of previous resistance, which is coinciding right now with this 18 average of lows if there's further decline. But just like I was mentioning with the last chart, that when this thing gets back going, it's got a path of least resistance higher, and it's able to, on the shorter term time frames like the 4 hour, get any type of bullish momentum across. For now, it has had this move to below the 18. It has shown a descending triangle sense. It's got to get above the 18 average and then either burst out from there or get above it and hold, stabilize within it, and then do some sort of nice little setup, which oftentimes will come into play. Something like a setup in here where you come up, have this level of resistance, and then break it above here. And then it was only one leg higher, but nonetheless, that's oftentimes what I would expect from something like that. Hit resistance, resistance, break. There's a good green candle, fiddles around for a little bit, and then it furthers its gains. And at the time, that was it. But within this, you see, and let me just remove the drawing tools again. Just like this was the 18 average of lows, so is this. So then it had this green candle rally, it got above it, came in here, so that's what I'd like markets doing, is giving me that situation, resistance is being established, then it breaks out of here, which was a more optimal time in entering than it would have been here, because if that's what you're looking for, a good bullish break above it, then why wasn't one taking it here? But you can see by doing such, if you got in long at around 201 handle, it didn't take long to get to the 261. And that's an interesting thing about playing a strategy like this, is you wait for the setups to come to you. And this isn't what I do, but I do realize it's a good strategy. And this was a good spot in here to go long. And sure enough, it happened. It was a winning play. There's no way any type of stop losses could have been executed, because nothing really went down too much from the point that it broke this established resistance at, well, at the time it was 192 handle. And these moves happen usually relatively fast, so if you like to get in and out quickly within markets, this is a spot where you're able to enter in the 27th morning, and it ends up having its nice high on the evening of the 30th, so it's 2.5 days it took to get to this high. And so on and so forth. And thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.